Hello and welcome to Kerbal Space Ram. It's been a while since I've looked at an A-18F, apparently, which I think is based on an actual designation that has a thing that looks at least a little bit similar to having this radiator panel inside the intake, and is a double-seater version. I think. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I looked at what inspired this, but I decided I needed to update this design for this version of KSP. There are some very minor modifications to this, but it generally looks and performs similar to the older versions of it. I think the biggest change was in the hardpoints on the wings, making those a little more realistic or a little more usable at least, and possibly rearranging the landing gear to position them slightly better. I don't quite remember. It's been a few days since I worked on it. Oh yes, and of course there is a hard point in the center. Of course there needs to be. And of course I will show the lift and center of mass. I've used the newer technique that I've been using where I build the whole craft without fuel and then fuel it to make sure that it has enough fuel. And of course I disable the reaction wheels on all my aerodynamic stuff with few exceptions because I feel like it's more realistic to do that. Our thrust to weight ratio I believe is, yeah, not quite 1. But that's okay, she's still fun to fly. And I think for this first one we'll just do a little bit of flying around the KSC. I believe our thrust to weight ratio does quickly climb above 1 once you have afterburners enabled. She can also take off at a quite low speed. She is very heavy though, that is part of the design. We do have flaps that we can enable, and you can see they dip quite far, and you can see that to compensate for the flaps a bit, actually no, that's a bug. These are supposed to be deploying down. They're supposed to be part of the flaps too, and so you see they're flaps but they're also the ailerons. I'll have to go fix that right now, but in any case you can see she flies quite well. The thrust to weight ratio changes depending on your current airspeed, so obviously during maneuvers her thrust to weight ratio will drop even with the afterburners enabled, but still flies quite well. I'm going to go ahead and turn off those debris markers for now, and I'm just going to fly her in a rather terrible way through here. Oh, that was too close. Shit, how do I eject? EVA, parachute. P is parachute, I believe. Yes, I forget who I learned that from, but I'm very glad that I learned that because obviously that was about to be a horrible disaster with the Kerbal dying. And since we're on a parachute right now, we can show that I have a couple other designs here waiting to show off. One of those might look very familiar to you if you have watched my channel for a long time. This one I believe I've recently shown off too, or maybe I haven't yet. The fact that it's still out here leads me to believe I haven't actually shown it off yet. And obviously you can see we have another FA-18 sitting right here, ready to go. So I'm actually going to see if I can I get you to climb up this thing? F, climb out. Oh, hey, there we go. I caught on. Alright, so now I'm going to come over here and F to grab and B to board. Can I? Oh, does this have 2 Kerbals in it already? Why do you have 2? Okay, you know what? We're going to leave him there. We're going to just leave him there. We're going to take off with this, with the Kerbal on board. Obviously, the Kerbal is creating some torque, interestingly enough, and the landing gear is placed far enough back that you can see it did an interesting little dive when going up there. Let's go ahead and activate the engines again. I always turn them off when I park them here. And let's just go ahead and get a bit of thrust, just get us... Oh, wait. It'd help if I turned off the brakes, obviously, so I'm going to go over here and get this going. Are these in wet mode? Because I thought for a moment they were in wet mode because the way things flared up momentarily. Taking off with a Kerbal hanging off of the side is obviously a very bad idea. For multiple reasons. Also, taking off on a runway that has debris on it from a crash 5 seconds ago. Also probably a pretty bad idea, but you know what? I'm going to do it anyhow, just because why not? And I do want to fly this thing a bit more. I also kind of want to fly it from the second cockpit. So I'm going to go ahead and say control from here. And, oh, I do have the throttle engaged. I didn't realize I still had the throttle engaged. I thought I had cut it entirely. Let's go ahead and, ooh, I overturned there. The controls are not quite the most responsive there. This might go very badly. Oh, I'm still in the front cockpit. Is it V to switch camera? Oh, Did I hit that? I hit that. I felt that one. Alright, let's get into the air. Okay, we're definitely in the air now. And let's go ahead and get out the cockpit, and we can see our Kerbal is barely hanging on, but they're only barely hanging on, so I'm going to go ahead and throttle down real low. We're going to see if we can keep ourselves flying while keeping them on board. We are losing altitude already. This thing is not designed to fly at this low of a speed. Let's get those deploying correctly. That is an issue I've noticed that I've had recently with flaps multiple times, is having flaps not wanting to quite control right. We're going to try and turn around very gently and land her back, because I don't want to actually kill the Kerbal that I have hanging off the side. That also makes me realize that with the other one that I just crashed, it might have had another Kerbal in the seat. Oh dear. Oh dear, I'm hitting the wrong buttons. Jesus. Ugh. Nearly crashed it twice in the same exact manner, 2 times in a row. Not exactly the best record that you want to maintain. And you know what? We're just gonna land now! Because, yeah, I screwed that up quite a bit. But at least everybody is okay. I'm gonna go ahead and recover this, which... You were on a ladder. Alright, can I switch to the guy on the ladder? Can I recover you? You were on a ladder. Okay, let go of the ladder. Can I recover you now? Who would have guessed being on a ladder is so dangerous to your health as a Kerbal? I'm going to go ahead and recover that from here as well. And I believe, see, this counts as... Oh, it doesn't have a crew on it. That's probably the main cockpit. And then this one doesn't have a crew either. So a couple pieces were left. I don't know if I killed another Kerbal on there or not. What is this? You got a piece of debris under the planet. Yeah, sure, we'll go ahead and recover that. And then there's another one down here that's also part of that. And now the long-range version that comes preloaded with some smaller drop tanks. And I'm going to go ahead and fly her over to, which one of these? The outer ones are the ones that are draining first, then the inner ones, then the innermost center tank. I'm going to go ahead and go fly this to the island. First, hopefully this works entirely properly. Let's see, I'm going to put it there, and I'm going to tell you to deploy now, and you're going to go the wrong way, so I'm going to save you correctly now. I'm going to go ahead and, before I forget, go do that to the other one as well. We'll see, this time we have only one Kerbal on board, and we're just going to go pop over to the island runway to deposit this one. I'm going to go ahead and enable the flaps this time around. I believe they do give us a shorter takeoff time, shorter takeoff distance. Not 100% sure. Also, that is going to be, or a lower takeoff speed at least as well. And obviously that's going to be trumped somewhat by having the higher weight on board, but not entirely. We still got off at a lower speed than we did in the previous version, and I think we're going fast enough now we can go ahead and disable those flaps and still fly normally. And I'm going to go ahead and keep an eye on the fuel use, although we are just going over to the island runway, the island base, so we probably won't even use up our first extra fuel tank. I am going to point the nose slightly up, slightly at an angle. There we go. It's a pretty decent line to go for now at least. And our speed is going to slowly increase, obviously, and I believe our thrust-to-weight ratio should also slowly increase as our speed does. Even now, I'm still learning how these engines work a little bit better. In fact, actually our thrust is going down slightly. Interesting. Of course, we are burning fuel, so we are losing some weight at a rate of 0.33 units per second. I believe that's per second. Yes, indeed, it is per second. So I'm not too worried about that. And we're almost to 200 meters per second, and our vertical altitude is around the same as it was during the initial quiet period when I was flying the K-117 over here the other day, or from my perspective a few minutes ago, but shh, pretend that these videos are all made on the day they come out instead of, you know, in a cluster. I'm trying to do them in a cluster so that it'll be a little bit more efficient, also because I tend to get distracted or start working on ideas, and I don't keep up with things as well, and I'm trying to do a little bit better at that. I'm also going a lot faster towards the island than I was with the K-117, partially because this thing has more capability than it, partially because just I'm full throttling it the whole way instead of slowing down a bit sooner. although I am going to go ahead and reduce our throttle a bit here. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and go internal view, and you can see our speed is coming down, but it's coming down rather slow, especially considering we're at, where's our throttle? Oh, there's our throttle. We're at 1/3 throttle, and gosh, I never really looked at the interior of this particular cockpit. I quite like it. Oops, I'm flying a little bit unstably at the moment. Actually, I'm going to turn off SAS entirely. Yeah, it's a little harder to control, obviously, without SAS at all, but quite doable still. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back on, though, and we're going to go ahead and pitch up because we overshot the runway, and also to kill some of the speed a little bit. See, because at this point, the speed we're going at, I'm actually going to cut the throttle down entirely. Go ahead and disengage, engage the landing gear. And, oh, stuff's loading in on the runway, because they're not on the runway, but in the area next to it, because there are things landed here. Oh yes, there's also the crashed debris that's right next to the runway. Oh dear. That's not the best. That is, wow, that is really one of my worst landings ever. But you know what? We're down. Oops. Tap the wing there a little bit. I drifted a plane! I've never done that before. That's quite insane. I can't believe I drifted the plane. That is rather crazy. That is amazing. I'm going to go ahead and shut down one of these engines. We don't need it running to go and land. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the SAS as well. And you know what? Screw it. Why not have the flaps go down while we come over here to park it? And I'm going to park it next to the F-104 and K-117 that I have parked over here already. At some point I'll need to take off all of these and do something with them again, but for now I guess I'm just building a small collection over at the runway. Of course I have a small collection back at the KSC as well, although those ones are not, what's the word I'm looking for? There's only 2 there now. There was 3. Kind of thinking of just building up a small collection here, like genuinely just how many planes can I fit in this hangar? And then also because each time I do this, the number of planes is, the number of planes is going to get higher, so the lag is going to increase. I'm actually going to go ahead and, this thing does have a longer wing than the F-117, I believe, or the K-117, excuse me. So I'm thinking I'm going to try and park it, of course that bit on the end of my wing does come quite a bit farther forward, so I'm going to try and let's go ahead and park it right about here. And wow, yeah, got her a lot closer than I did even with the last one. But yeah, you live here now, Hadbel. Of course, this really wouldn't be complete without doing some really stupid flight, so right now I'm going to go ahead and fly from the cockpit, go ahead and get us not off the ground yet, okay, we're probably off the ground now. Go ahead and raise the landing gear, and I'm going to do something rather stupid by right away. I'm going to go ahead and do this from the outside view so you can see the kind of stupidity I'm talking about. Ooh. Our controls are not quite as good as I thought they were going to be for that first run around, so I'm actually going to go out this way a little bit and get us a little room to come back around. Pull up before I crash into the ground, obviously. That would not go well for anybody. And roll over. Aim at the VAB, roughly at the VAB. And then I do have an action group that does this. Oh, that didn't work. Well, I launched them late, so now they're not going to hit the VAB, but yes, I just detached all pylons instantaneously. Having a little jettison command like that is quite useful. I believe I also just did a post-stall maneuver where I, went pretty much nearly the exact direction opposite of where I was facing, and we fell quite a lot during that maneuver, so obviously we got lower to falling out of the sky and crashing. And since we're here to do crazy maneuvers, besides just throwing some debris into the building, I'm going to go into the VAB, and failing at it, I'm going to go into the cockpit mode. And see, the only downside with this particular design is that because our thrust-to-weight ratio is rather low, stuff like that happens. I wish there was an action group to have the Kerbal... Ah! I bounced off the ground before the parachute activated. That's funny. And the cockpit survived anyhow. I wish you could set a hotkey to having a Kerbal EVA, because that would be very useful as an eject system, because ejection is limited by how long it takes you to, like, if I'm in the cockpit view, exit cockpit view, and then after that to, you know, find the right part, right-click on it, and then click eject. Obviously, I believe with the way that the pause menu now allows you to move the camera around. Oh, how do you do that? There is a way to do this. I know there is. Oh, interesting. I can... That's interesting. I don't know when they added that, but... Wasn't there a way to, like, pause it and look around? I swear there was. Thanks for watching, and as always, see you crashing into the ground spectacularly. Oh, I just realized, because you're on the computer, your sounds will be mixed with the game sounds, so congratulations.
Yay!
Probably should cut the throttle instead of going full throttle while going towards the mountaintops.
Yeah, it's fine.
This might get a little bit rough right here. Or it might go exactly according to plan. Alright, it all depends on when we touch down. Oh dear, this is going to be a rough touchdown. Oh! They died.
You died.
Yeah. Yeah, they died. Well, successful landing.